Hello everybody and welcome to Songwriting Simplified with me, Jonny Lipsham, right here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk here in the Midlothian region of Scotland, which of course, as everybody should know, is the capital of Britain, is the capital of Europe, is the capital of the globe, is the capital of the solar system, is the capital of the Milky Way, and is capital of wherever Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 are right now. Because, believe it or not, Scottish engineers worked on those things. So there we go. That's a tenuous, very, very tenuous claim to interstellar space there, because there was one Scottish engineer that worked on one component of Voyager 2. Can I get any better at these? That's my question. Probably not. It's probably going to get sillier as time goes on. Anyway, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. And first in the door, of course, was Billy Morgan. And Mike Johnson followed him nearly an hour later. Ron Figura is also here. Kevin from Kevin's Guitar Stories is also here. Boris Dancy is here, who has a fantastic question, by the way, folks. If you've not read it, please do read it. It's a great question. And Wayne is here, John Lake is here, Don Oliver is also here, Burlap Studio, who I have not seen in a very long time, is here. It's nice to have you back on the show, my friend. Welcome back. And Gardner99 is also here. And there we go. I think we got everybody so far. And Bobby Booth is also here. He has just arrived, which means we can start now, because we cannot do a show without Bobby being here. Sorry, Bobby, no pressure or anything, but, you know, you've been around since the very beginning, and I don't think you've missed a single show, so, you know. Tony Codone is here as well, and he's asking a good question as well, so I can get in with that question as well. Just Bob is here. He says, checking in before I leave work. Bob, great to have you here, and I know you always check out the replay, and that's great. So we got 15 people who are currently watching, and we've only got 6 likes. Let's try and balance the scales of Lipsham justice and get the viewers and likes kind of evened out, so we've got nice scales of balance. So there's balance to the force. That's what I like to see. So if you're watching and you have not hit the like button, if you like what I do, I mean, don't feel compelled to just do it because I'm telling you to do it, but if you like what I do and you like Songwriting Simplified and you like what I do on my channel, then please hit the like button. I find it very helpful. It really does help me, actually, because the more likes I get, the more the algorithm says, hey, people like this, we should promote it. And we should make it more important, and therefore more people will like it. So that's kind of how it works. The YouTube algorithm, everyone thinks it's really mysterious. It's not really that mysterious. It's actually surprisingly logical. You put out a video and people like it, and YouTube basically goes, hey, people like this video, we should promote it. And so they promote it, and they make it available to more people. They put it up on the YouTube homepage, and more people go, hey, this is an interesting video, let's watch it. And before you know it, loads of people are watching it. So it's not as complicated as people like to make it out that it is. And we got Secret Squirrel here as well, which is awesome. All right, so I have a very itchy left nostril. I apologize. I actually had a wee bit of a nosebleed before the show started, which is why I'm a wee bit late, because I was trying to clear that up. I have not had a nosebleed since I was about 15, so I don't know what the fedge that was all about. And substitute your favorite profanity word when I said fedge, because fedge is not a real word even. All right, so let's get started. We'll start in logical order. We'll start with Billy's question, where he's asking us about workspaces and is it possible to delete folders in workspaces. Now, he says any way to delete on move folders workspace. I think he means in one move, I think. You might have to clarify that one, Billy. Any way to delete in one move folders in workspace. And yes, there actually is. It's actually very straightforward, fortunately. And there's a couple of ways you can do it. one way is to do it from inside the browser in Studio One, so you don't even need to go to your account. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is actually to go into your account and go into workspaces, find that workspace, get in it, click on the Files tab, and then click on the 3-dot icon of the folder you want to delete, and then you'll see delete folder option. I'm going to show you how to do that. I am prepared fully to sacrifice a folder, which doesn't really have very much in it, I don't think. I don't recall it having very much in it, and if it does, then meh, oh well. No big deal. So let's go and let's open up my workspace. Here we go. So let's go over to the screen. Here we go. And you can see this is my test space. This is where I do all sorts of testing for a bunch of different issues for workspaces. And Dave Coffin is a contributor here. If you don't know who Dave Coffin is, Dave is basically the author, the creator, the originator of Personasphere, now known as Studio One Plus. This is his baby. And so he is in here because I help him test stuff, because I'm a nice person. So, and as you can see, I'm in here twice because I have split personalities. All right, so the one I'm going to get rid of is this one here. Let's just see what's in it. There is a song in it. Is there anything else in it? No, there's just autosaves. I don't even know what is in this folder, really. So I am happy to consign this folder to the auto flushable toilet of Studio One Plus. So shall we do it? I think we shall. I'm going to check that this is what Billy is talking about. I'm assuming Billy is still here. Burlap says, fedge, I like it. Yes, it's a good alternative swear word. I have plenty of them. I don't necessarily always use them, but they're there just in case I prefer to use them rather than a real profane word. All right, so let's nuke this folder if that is what Billy is talking about. So I'm in light mode, so you guys may not see this very well, so I can quite easily go into dark mode because I know most people have it in dark mode because you guys like the darkness, because you are on the dark side of the Force. And if that's you, if you are a Sith and not a Jedi, that's perfectly fine. I don't mind. As you can hear, I'm in a bit of a silly mood today. So you click on this little 3-dot icon here, and then at the bottom it says delete folder or cancel. So if I cancel, it's just not going to do anything. Oh, and by the way, you've got this nice little sync button here. This folder is synced in Studio One 6. So any folder that is linked, or as they say, synced to Studio One 6, and in this case it's synced to Studio One 6 on my computer, then if I get rid of this, it will say, hey, this folder is no longer synced, and it will sever the link inside of Studio One. So if you decide that this is what you want to do, you can delete the folder. Or let's say you don't want to delete the folder, you want to keep it there, but maybe in Studio One, if I can get the home page to come up. I'm running a lot of stuff and my computer's been on all day, so it's responding a little slowly to things that I'm telling it to do just for now. So let's go see shared. There it is there. So I can see this is a shared folder. Can I right click it? Yes, I can. I don't have any options to unlink it here. I thought that you did. No, you don't. You can remove from recent files list. You can open with options. You can show an explorer, and there's all your information about the song. But it looks like you can't move it from shared or not shared anymore. But if you go back over here, I can just click on this guy. And then I can go boom, delete. This folder contains 1 folder and 4 files. I can move all contents to home, and that means it's not deleted, it's just not in this files section anymore if I click on that. Or I can delete all contents. That includes the song and anything in it. Now, it does not delete it from your computer, okay? It's not going to be deleted from Studio One. It's just going to be deleted out of your workspace. All right. So unlink is a collaboration function in Studio One. Of course it is. Thank you, Ron. Of course it is. So I could easily just go and do that in Studio One. I could go back up here. And I can go, because I've got this selected. File, collaboration, unlink. This will unlink your local copy and keep files in the remote location. Would you like to proceed? So you can do that. And that basically means that this song will no longer be linked to the folder in the workspace. I'm going to say no to that right now. But I am, because I'm thinking I might want to just keep this as is. But I think what I will do is I'll go over here. This time I'm going to go delete folder. And I'm going to delete all contents. Are you sure you want to permanently delete this folder and, all caps, all its contents? So you get a confirmation here. Basically, this is your final check. Are you sure you want to do this? Be aware that this is something that comes up, okay? You are being asked, are you sure you want to do this? And I'm going to say, okay. And there it is. It no longer exists on my folder. Now, if I come back over to Studio One, has it changed? No, it has not. It's still listed as shared. But you'll notice that there's no longer a pin in it. But yeah, it's still listed as shared. But there you go. You can delete a folder. Now, in Studio One, we'll go back over here. You can also go into Cloud. Double click to get into Studio One Plus. And you can go into your collaborations. And as you can see, I have a load of collaborations. You can kind of remove yourself from those. I don't want to do that. I want to go into workspaces and I want to go into test space. Like that. And you'll see these are all the files and folders that are in here. So for example, loops folder, this chap here. If I click on this, this is going to show what's in it. Now, I might want to delete this folder. I can right click it and I can delete it and it will get gone. It will get deleted. All right, so there are, as usual with everything Studio One, there are at least 3 different ways to do something. So I've just shown you how you can unlink via the collaboration. Thank you, Ron. And also how you can delete a folder from inside the workspace in your Studio One Plus account. And also how you can access it from the browser. And you can also delete it here. You can also rename, you can create a new folder, and you can refresh the list as well. But yes, you can you can delete a folder from there as well. So whatever takes your fancy, whichever way you want to do it is kind of up to you, to be honest. So I hope that that is helpful. Billy, let me know. Let me know if this is what you was talking about. And there you go. Billy says thanks. There you go. All right, so that's Billy's question taken care of. Now, Boris's question, which is a great question. Let's go back over here for that. How would you advise a writer or composer with intermediate theory ways to avoid the same boring progressions in their songs? Yes. That's not the answer to the question. I'm just saying yes because I have advice. So, if you are somebody that uses a lot of these chords, let's bring the mic over. You might be somebody that likes to write in G a lot if you're a guitar player. So basically what we did there was chord 1 in G major, which is G, unsurprisingly. Going to chord 6, which is E minor. and then 2, 5, back to 1 again. And then we went to 6, but this time instead of going 2, we went to chord 4, chord C, to chord 5. So, that is a set of chord changes that pretty much writes itself. It's replete all over pop songs. So, if you want to get a little bit sneaky and a little bit creative, you can extend that 2-5-1 thing, or 3-6-2-5-1, which is what we did. We went, we went 6-2-5-1. So we went 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. You can extend this out a little bit. You can go, instead of going to 1, you could go chord 3, then back round, 6, 2, 5, 1. So you could go 1, 6, 2, 5, and then you could go 3, 6, sharp 9, 2, 4, 5, 1. That's staying within the key, okay? There's nothing there that is chromatic in any way. It's all completely diatonic, okay? Apart from the E7 chord. The G sharp does not belong in the key of G. So normally you'd go minor instead of dominant. So that's another way to add a little bit of spice. Just turn a chord from minor to major or major to minor. So, one of the best ways to get the emotion of melancholy and a hint of sadness into the music for your songs is, instead of going chord 1 to chord 4 major, which is what you would do in a major key, try going to 4 minor instead. So, and the reason why it invokes sadness is because you have this raised fifth, which then resolves itself. So, okay, so if you want to stay on a G major chord for a long time, but your lyrics kind of hint at maybe just a hint of sadness about it, you can do that. You can go chord 1 to chord 4 minor. Or you can stay on the 1 and raise the 5th and then resolve it. And then resolve that to chord 6. And then go chord 4 minor, chord 4 minor maybe. Chord 5. Repeat that. So it's major, it's very much a major key song, but there are just hints of darkness in there. So that's one thing you can do, because that's kind of, you're borrowing notes from other tonalities, other modes, and other keys that don't belong. So that's definitely one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is actually borrow a chord that definitely doesn't even belong in the key. I do this quite a bit. So instead of going chord 1, let's change this up a bit. Let's go chord 1 to chord 3. Naturally, you want to go to chord 6 there, right? And then 4. Go to chord 5. How about go chord 1? I don't know how well this will work. Chord 3. Chord flat 6. You don't expect that, do you? To chord 5. And there, you've just by adding one chord that doesn't belong to the key, that's flat 6 in the key of G. That is E flat major 7. I played it as a B flat major triad with E in the bass, E flat in the bass. So borrow chords from different keys that don't necessarily belong to add some color, to add some spice, to add a surprise that your listener's not expecting. So if I'm doing a blues in G, now I could go to 6 and then do, 2, 5, 1. But this is what I like to do. I like to go chord 1, 4, back to 1 again, and then, so that's 6, then I go flat 6 to 5. And it just opens up a whole bunch of different sounds, different tones, okay? Another thing you can try is changing the bass note. That's really, really simple. Changing the bass note and using maybe the third of the chord in the bass can do a lot for your chords, and it can add tension to your song that you maybe otherwise hadn't really thought of. So, for example, staying in G, that's G with B in the bass, C, and then we'll do this. We'll go D with C in the bass, and then we'll go back to that B, G with the B in the bass, and then we'll go G minor with the B flat, and then we'll go D over A, and we've changed key to the key of D, but that's okay because we can get back. And that there adds a load of tension and can be really useful. That D over C. Pivot back to C again. C over D. D over F sharp. C over E. B flat over E flat. C over D. Putting in a flat 9 is also useful. There's that melancholy thing again. Alright, so instead of going to chord 4 minor, you could just go to 5 with the flat 9. So the world is your oyster harmonically, really. You can bend, you can break the rules, you can do whatever the heck you like. You can borrow chords from different key signatures, you can use different bass notes to load up the tension. Like, you can go... then I had that little sus4 there as well, which I eventually resolved. Okay, so there's a whole raft of things you can do to move away from C, F, and G, A minor, D minor, and all of that, just by borrowing a chord from a key that it doesn't belong in, like that E flat chord. Doesn't belong in the key of G major. It's a foreign chord, but it works because it adds color, it adds tension, it adds a little bit of spice. It also gives some surprise. The thing to do is make sure you resolve that. If you're going to be in this kind of major minor tonal system that most pop songs are written in, resolving tension is important. You can load up the tension as much as you like. You can drip the music with as much melancholy as you like. Resolution, getting back to the one, is important. Even if you lead your listener on a merry little dance of interrupted cadences and going this way, going that way, so long as you get back home, the listener's going to be satisfied. And they're going to want to listen to your music, okay? Because they're going to find your music is interesting, has surprise, has elements they don't expect. And so, we often talk on this show about ear candy. Ear candy can be counter melodies, can be a little phrase played on a glockenspiel that you don't hear ever again. You just hear it one time, 3 little notes, ding, 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 and then it's gone. But it emphasizes those particular notes of the melody and provides a little bit of color and a little bit of attack that makes the listener sit up and listen to those notes, especially if those notes have incredibly important lyrics to them that you want to underscore and burn into the mind of the listener, the meaning of those words, the impact of those words, as if you were etching them into their forehead with a compass. You can do that. You got to make sure that you resolve those things, though, if you are in this kind of pop, kind of major minor tonality. If you're writing jazz, yeah, that kind of thing doesn't matter so much. You can just load it up with tension and let the tension sit, and it's fine. But you can occasionally, like any good dinner, you can make the food too spicy. Be careful about balancing spice and neutral flavors. Make sure that there's a good balance, and all will be well, whatever style of music you're writing in. And you will be able to, you will find that you will get away with a lot, providing you've got a strong melody and strong lyrics and a good arrangement. It really actually doesn't matter what chords you use. Providing the melody is strong and secure, and the lyrics are strong and secure. Because that's what the listener needs to hook themselves into when they're listening to your song. They need to hook themselves into that melody, hook themselves into the story that you're trying to convey. Everything else is dressing, set design, if you will. So the chord changes, that's it. They just provide the bed for the melody to lie down on and relax. So, you can do what you like, really, providing it supports the melody. But that is a great question, and I hope that I've given you as great an answer as I could. Mike Johnson says, I find that songs can sound cool if you modulate the chord progression up or down for a difference between verses and choruses. Definitely, and I have done that. I worked with a singer, and she had this really, really great song. It had a very powerful chorus. I loved that chorus. There was one small problem. Because of the range that she could sing in, she couldn't sing the chorus in the same key that she could sing the verse in. So basically it was a case of, through trial and error, we found the key that she was really comfortable in for the verse and the key that she was really comfortable in for the chorus, because we needed to make this chorus big and bold and dripping with emotion. And so we changed key quite significantly. The trick was getting back from the departed key to the key for the chorus, and then back into the key for the verse, without it sounding weird. And so I did this with a series of 2-5, and then so we went 2-5, 2-5, 2-5, 1 in different keys, stepping ourselves back down. And the reason I did that was so that the listener would be led from one key to the other, because it was a little bit of a leap from one key, from the chorus into the verse into the chorus. The verse was in G major. She could sing beautifully in this G major 7 kind of thing, but the chorus had to be in the key of B flat major, which is a little bit of it's not a massive departure, but it is a bit of a one. So I had to do it smartly to make it big. So these are the chord changes to the verse. And there we go. And then this is my moment to do my turnaround to get us into the key of B flat. I'm going to get back to the key of G from here. And that's how I did it. So I went chord, I did basically 3, 6, 2, 5, 1 in G major, but I did it with some chromatic passing notes. B minor, E7 flat 9. To provide that melancholy, to A minor, and then a little chromatic passing note here, which I then brought back again. There's that melancholy note again. So that's how we did it, with a 3, 6, 2, 5, 1 in G major, but with those chromatic passing notes, which were played, which I had done as a string arrangement. Basically, it was piano with strings, and her lead vocal. And then for the last chorus, she and I layered up some harmonies together. So I think we recorded 6 parts for her, 6 parts for me. And we just layered up these beautiful harmonies together for that final chorus of the song. And that was it. But it worked. So yes, transposing or modulating from one key to another can also help sometimes rescue a song. In this case, it was rescuing a song. It was rescuing a song that the songwriter was going to abandon. She was going to abandon this really beautiful song with this incredibly emotional story to tell. And I was just like, no, you are not abandoning this song. We are solving the problem, which is what we did. And that is an arranger's job, which is kind of one of the things that I do. I'm not just a composer. I'm not just a songwriter. I'm an arranger. And that's one of the things that I did. I wrote the string arrangements, and I wrote the vocal harmony arrangements as well. But that's kind of the big thing that an arranger does, is it fixes a problem like, okay, this singer can only sing in, has to sing in 2 different keys to make this song work. It's the arranger's job to sellotape these 2 keys together to make them work. So that's what I did. But that is a fantastic, glorious question. Tony says, when you compose using VST instruments, do you use a limiter on the main bus? I've noticed that certain third-party VST instruments' volume levels are sometimes really hot. What is your MO? When I'm writing, I don't worry about clipping. Clipping is all in the mixing phase. I don't worry about that when I'm recording. Unless I'm dealing with audio, in which case, if you've clipped audio and the audio is distorted, you are not recovering it. Even if you use RX Declipper, you're still not recovering it. It won't sound the same. Trust me. Declipper is incredible. It's phenomenal what it does, and it blows my mind at what it can do. But fundamentally, it's not going to be the same because you are digitally altering the performance and the original peaks of the audio. So if I'm using virtual instruments, really, virtual instruments are just notes, ones, MIDI messages, and control and expression and breath control messages. That's it. It's just data. It's not volume, so I don't worry about it. Yes, the clip light on the master bus is going to go off. It's going to go red. And it might actually be a little bit on the loud side. You might decide, you know what? That's really loud for me to listen to. You know what? In the mixer, in Studio One, there are faders. You can turn these guys down. Everything here, apart from the piano, is a virtual instrument. So if I was to mute the piano, all of those are virtual instruments. Oh, apart from the drums. That's a drum loop. Okay? Alright, so let's mute the drums as well then. We've only got two instruments to bounce off of each other here. And actually, they're not that bad. They're not that, as you can see, they're not coming in that hot. Round about -12. I'm happy with that. But let's say they weren't. Let's close the mixer. With the mixer closed, what I can do is I can click on this guy. There's a volume control here. There's a global volume here. And there's a volume here as well. So, and this controls velocity. I maybe don't want to mess with the velocities, but maybe I do want to turn this down. Okay, now I'm aware that some third-party VSTs do not have a volume control on them. Some do, some don't. The ones that don't, there is a solution to that as well, and that is found in the mixer. Click on the wrench tool. Input controls. Click on that guy. Now you have gain controls for each of these. You can use the gain controls to turn these guys down, because this is where the audio is for the virtual instruments that are up here. Okay? So these tracks up here, instrument tracks, there's no sound there. It's like space. It's a vacuum. There's no sound. However, even with no sound in space, and no sound up here, there is sound here. Basically, the output of the virtual instruments is compiled into audio here in the mixer. This is why in Studio One, tracks and channels are not the same. This is why when you have a mute button for a track, it doesn't necessarily show up in the mixer and vice versa. Because tracks and channels in Studio One are not the same, and this is especially true for instrument tracks. Okay? Instrument tracks in Studio One have no audio, it is just data. In the mixer, that's where they are converted into audio so that they can then go out to your output and then you can hear them. Because otherwise, if it was just data, you wouldn't hear anything. Because you'd have no way of translating that data into audio that you can hear. So I hope that that helps with that. So input controls or the volume on a VST, if it has one. This one does. Presence does. Mai Tai does. The other Studio One ones do, but third-party ones, they might not. And if they don't, input controls are your best friend. You find them in the wrench, under channel components, input controls. Click on that, and you've got these controls at the top here. And you can just turn them up, or you can turn them down, or you can use the volume fader. It's your call, whichever you want to do. But to be honest, in the writing phase, I don't worry about it because it's just digital. It doesn't bother me. Okay, so the clip light's going off. That's okay. If it's audio and it's clipping, that's different. If it's clipped on the input, then that's different. But, yeah. Don't worry about it. Let's see. Secret Squirrel says, I'm attempting to find a way to separate a lead vocal from a backing vocal harmony. Any thoughts on a decent strategy? Good luck, is what I would say. If they are on the same track, good luck. You're going to have to use some funky tools to be able to separate them if they are on the same audio track. If not, and you're just talking about mixing, that's really a Sunday Night Live question, really. It's really a mixing question. However, you could also be talking about how to make the lead vocal up front and the backing vocals further back. You can do that with compression. You can do that with reverb. Again, those are kind of mixing solutions, mixing answers. But if you're talking about from an arranging point of view, one simple thing is don't have the backing vocals singing at the same time as the lead vocal. Have the backing vocals responding to the lead vocal. You can do that really simply. That's a simple solution. That way, when the lead vocal is singing, the backing vocals aren't. When the lead vocalist is not singing, the backing vocals will sing. That's a very easy solution. I get this with orchestration for orchestral compositions that I get with my students. And, when you're first learning orchestration, you don't understand that, some instruments in the orchestra are just by default, by design, louder than others. So this means you cannot necessarily have flutes with tubas and trombones and trumpets. You can, but you cannot necessarily do it because flutes are soft, brass are bright and loud. You're gonna have a hard job getting the flute to compete with those instruments. So you have to voice the chord appropriately. And how you would do that in that situation is you would have written dynamics for the brass players, play soft. For the flute player, play loud. So piano for the brass, forte for the woodwinds. And then it's about arranging. Have the brass play in their lower registers. Have the flute play in its upper register where it's going to cut right through the mix. Where it's going to sparkle. So have them nice and high up in their register and have the brass a little bit lower. So, how do we apply that to lead vocal and backing vocals? Same thing. Have the lead vocal sing higher notes than the backing vocals. And then that way they're gonna have, by nature, that little bit of separation. Again, have the written instruction for your backing vocalist. Sing softly. Lead vocalist, belt it. Stand 1.5 feet away from the microphone and let loose. But you have your backing vocalist sing a wee bit quieter. Lead vocal is going to cut every time. Backing vocalists are going to be sat back. And you're not going to need an EQ. You're not going to need a reverb. You're not going to need a compressor. Because you're doing all of that already with nature. So that's a solution to that one. Tony says, is that picture of your studio setup the one that says test space above it? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That is my studio. That's actually what I see when I'm waiting to start doing a show. So this is the other side of what you are seeing. You're seeing me looking at you. But this is the perspective of the doorway of the studio as I'm about to start a show. Great question. Tony says, I guess I was more concerned about suddenly ripping your monitors apart when you play a VST that is factory set too loud. I knew about the volume control of the within the VSTs. Yeah. So if the factory default of the preset is too loud, then use the input controls to turn it down, especially if the VST has no volume control. Most of them do. There are some that need to be brought kicking and screaming into 2023 and have a volume controller encoded into them. But the ones that, and so those ones that don't, yes, they may well be factory defaulted to being a wee bit on the loud side. I don't think they would ever tear the faces of your speakers off. If they do that, report that immediately in a support ticket to the manufacturer. Okay? To the manufacturer. Because that is a bug. Because there is no reason on God's green and blue earth that is a sphere and not flat that it should be that loud that it's going to damage your hearing or damage your speakers. So yes, report that straight away to the manufacturer of that sound, whatever that might be. We have got 8 minutes left, folks, and there's been some belters of questions. Thank you, folks. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate them a lot, and people are messaging me left, right, and center here. I'm getting messages in Skype. I'm getting messages everywhere. And most of them are not important. Let's see, do we have anything else here? I don't think we do. Mike says, try to mix with the channels lower, then when you pull a limiter on the main or whatever mastering effects, you can end up with a much better sounding, loud, punchy, clean result. You can, certainly. Want to hang out after? Yeah, we can. We can indeed. For sure. Well Up Studio says, what a nice visit, man. You know what? It's been very nice having you here too. I'm very glad you are back and you are back hanging out with us. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you being here. It's great. Let's see. Do we have any more questions? Because we've got 7 minutes left. We could end early if there are no more questions, or I could take maybe one, maybe two more questions. But that said, you know how long I take over answering questions. Because I like to give you lots of information. I like to give you a detailed answer that's going to help you apply the answer to the next time you're in Studio One. That's always my objective. My objective is always giving you information that you can just go straight away, open Studio One, open a song, and immediately start to apply the things I talk about. Whilst they're still fresh in your memory. One of the things I hated when I was at school, when I was at high school, was teachers that didn't give you practical instruction. They would talk about things. They would get you doing practical tasks, but they would not really talk about what the practical task is all about fully. They wouldn't give you detail that you can apply. They would say, right, we're doing this. Right, there's all the gear. It's all set up on the tables for you. Go. And then the teacher would spend the next 30 minutes whilst the kids are trying to figure out what the heck they're supposed to be doing, going from one table to the next, clarifying what he or she had already said up front, but hadn't explained properly. So I used to hate that at school. So when I became a music teacher at high school, and then as a lecturer at college and at university, I made it my mission to make sure that I'm giving my students practical guidance that they can immediately apply to a task, and to give them inspiration and the impetus to get straight in and get creating, without any hanging about, without going, hang on a minute, what was it that he said? What was it that... I wanted to avoid all of that. And I want to make sure that my students have something to get their claws into that they can immediately go and apply. So I don't want to be that... oh dear Lord, that's a fun link there, Mike. There we go, he's put the proper link in. Alright, so Bellup says, I have a solid question. Okay. I am hoping that your question is not something along the lines of, how much is a liter of sound? Or what is a liter of sound? Right, Bellup Studios, just so you know, you do get 200 characters, so you can keep going. I'm going to wait. I'm not going to end the show until you've got this in. Given a particular chord, say A major, all right? A major. Wait. What are the fastest ways to identify and partner polychords? Great question. Really complicated question, which I can't really answer in 3 minutes or less. However, if you want to stack a polychord, what is a polychord? A polychord is more than one chord. Simple. Really? It's like, you know, two parrots. One called Polly, the other one called Ollie. Alright, so polychords. Take a chord, stick another one on the top of it. What do you get? Now, you can have consonantal polychords, chords that are consonantal, like sticking E major on the top of A, which gives you a nice A major 9 kind of sound. You can also stick D on top. The problem with that is you get this. That's a little bit ugly. So that one maybe doesn't work quite so well, but certainly E major on the top worked quite well. I could certainly see myself using that one. Or put that in this version. Putting a G major on top again. You can get that nasty little chord there. So I'd maybe put D major on top. Trouble is we've got parallel octaves there as well. So revoice it a bit, and you could, you know, polychords. You know, I've at least done a few tonight, where I had E flat over a B flat major triad, E flat in the bass. That's a polychord, kinda. That's a bit of an odd one, but it does work. So polychords is basically playing one chord on top of another, or one chord over a different bass note, which is what I was doing there. I was basically going, you know, F over B flat. That gives you that major 9 kind of sound. Everybody likes that kind of major 9 sound. It kind of sounds quite modern. Another way is, you know, sticking one chord on top of another. So like E minor on top of F major. F triad, E minor triad. That gives you basically F major 9 sharp 11. You can get a little crazy with it if you really want to. You can go F over E flat. That gives you that kind of 11 chord kind of sound. So that you've got that ugly clash there. So take the A out, and you've got another voicing for F11. Or F over D. That kind of doubles up the A, but gives you a nice kind of flat 9, a 6 chord. F6, flat 9. So that would kind of work, yeah. You could sharp the 11, so you could go like D6 over F. That would kind of work. Or E2, so that's basically E with the 2 instead of the third. Over the top of F. F major 7 flat 9 sharp 11. Pretty weird kind of spicy sounding chord. Flat the E though. And you got something a little bit more interesting. Take the 5 out. And you got a really interesting chord. Like, you know, F7 flat 9 sharp 11. So yeah, you can get into really weird sounding chords, you know, like F major with D flat on top of it. It does double the F, mind, but well, what does that give you? Well, that gives you F with a sharp 9 and a flat 13. That gets you into some weird spicy territory. Worth exploring though. If you're into kind of weird harmony, which I definitely am. I am definitely into weird harmony. Polychord chord could also consist of 2 7th chords or 7th chord and a triad. Yes, 7th chord with triad is probably the more common. If you're wanting to get, you know, nice chromatic Debussyan Ravellian harmony. F7 with G major on top. You know, and then move that in parallel, step motion. And that's basically giving you a 13 sharp 11 chord. Which is one of my favorite chords, by the way. But there you go. Great options. All right, folks, we're going to end it there because we are 3 minutes over time. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. I'll see you on Sunday for Sunday Night Live, where we will take your Studio One recording, mixing, and mastering questions. Not songwriting questions. This show is for songwriting questions. That show is for mixing and mastering and recording and Studio One technical questions. All right? Until then, folks, I'll see you Sunday. Have a great rest of your week. Come and join us on the after show if you want. I'll be there for a wee bit. Good night, everybody.